The world of marketing and PR has turned into quite the frenzy, and it's not easy to navigate the ever-changing landscape. Join me in my journey to learn from the best, as some of the world's top marketing and PR professionals share their stories on ways you can harness these changes to grow your brand. It's time to fuel the frenzy. Hello and welcome to the Fuel the Frenzy podcast, and welcome to our Facebook Live viewers. It's great to be here again. Every person that we speak to on the show just really delivers some really phenomenal insight, and it's nothing new today. We have Stephanie Ristow on the show with us. Stephanie, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you on the show. I'm excited to learn more about what you get involved in day to day, and what the type of marketing technology platforms that you are using. There's so many discussions I want to have with you. So before we move on, perhaps you would share with our listeners a little bit of background on yourself and who you work for, and really what your expertise is.
Yeah, I have supported demand gen efforts at some large companies like Nike, WebMD, Microsoft, in addition to a lot of smaller B2B companies. Right now, I manage our marketing efforts here at Charter School Capital, a specialty finance company for schools. Our tech stack and making sure the demand gen is there for our sales organization.
Very good. Okay, so quite a change. You were at some some big consumer brands, and now you've gone into the finance arena for schools and education. So that's quite a change. How do you find that?
I love it, actually. So I've found at some of the larger organizations, you have a very specific role, which is great early in your career because you get really, really good at certain things. But I'm just to a phase in my career now where I wanted to work for a smaller organization where I could wear more hats and have a bigger impact overall.
Yeah, very good. So I'm imagining the marketing team, your team, is very much responsible for lead generation. Are you, or what are you bringing to the bottom line?
So it really runs the gamut, right? So awareness, so making sure that brands are aware of our products and services. Then there's consideration, building trust and engagement with our prospects through resources and the like. And then supporting the sales team in their conversion efforts. So having schools fund with us for a good reason. And then on the tail end of that, in the traditional marketing funnel style, is loyalty program, retention, and referrals. So we're responsible for a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. How big is your team?
Right now, there are 4 of us, and we'll likely be hiring in the new year as well.
Okay, very good. So, you mentioned to me earlier, obviously before we got on our podcast, that, the MarTech stack is something which you have to deal with quite regularly. And you're working in a B2B world, so there's a lot of MarTech platforms out there which lend themselves to to people like you. So how do you think? How does technology? How is it changing your role and what you do every day? I mean, is it improving what you do? What are you finding the outcomes of the technology being?
Well, like we were joking right before the podcast started, it's really a double-edged sword if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So the capabilities and the automation are saving us from so much busy work at this point and enabling us to optimize in such a big way. But the expectation obviously goes up with that, right? So things just need to be more and more and more perfect and more efficient as you go along. There are a few tech components that I'm really excited about of late that are taking a huge automation component off the plates of the manual workforce. So most people are aware of marketing automation tools, Marketo, Pardot, even MailChimp has some marketing automation tools that are coming out right now. But one of the big challenges that we were trying to solve for at Charter School Capital was that gap between the sales and marketing orgs, which is really common, especially in the B2B world. You have really programmatic approaches to the verticals, graphics on the marketing side. But then once it's passed over to the sales team, it felt a little bit like the Wild West, not for lack of trying on their part, just there wasn't a programmatic, automated sequence in a way set up so that we could track what's working with which audience and which geo. So we were trying to build something that accomplished that. and took a lot of the manual work of those introduction emails and things like that off the plate of our sales team. I was trying to build it in Marketo, to be honest, in the first place, before a friend was like, they have tools that do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I found Outreach. There's other ones out there like ToutApp that's owned by Marketo.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, you can set up these sequences for the sales team to automatically push out emails with slight modifications if they'd like, to do manual sends, creates tasks for them.
Mm-hmm.
For the number of phone calls, it sets up when they should do the calls, at what time. And it just makes it easier to not only for them to execute their job, but for us to measure what is or isn't working in a single variable instance.
Okay.
So that's a good example of a tool that's making a lot of people's lives a lot easier, but it does raise the expectation of everybody's performance on staff.
Yeah. So let me understand that a little bit more. So obviously, like, let's take a Marketo. I mean, any of them, it doesn't really matter. You're fueling that platform with content. And you're running your drip campaigns, and you're trying to drip basically at different points of the buying cycle, etc. I'm not quite clear. So how does that? So now it allows you to see how the sales team are now taking that collateral. Is that right? And the success they're having with it. So it's you do your bit, they then do their bit, and then together you can see what's working.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Okay.
So anything that's corporate or marketing wrapped will come out of the marketing automation system. And then anything that needs to look like it's coming from the sales team, and I feel like we're giving away our secret sauce right now, but anything that should
don't share too much, but a little bit high level.
That would come out of Outreach.
Yeah.
The two systems talk to each other so that we're not bombarding somebody, we're not getting mixed information and things like that.
Yeah, that's what the sales team need, though. It's great that there's an integration platform like that with marketing. So I don't hear that talked about so much. So normally it's like, we do our bit, over to you. And then and that's when you get this kind of siloed approach, isn't it? So that's really good. Yeah. That's great. I think you're pretty progressive, actually, in what you use. I mean, you've mentioned some other tools to me earlier. Maybe you can kind of talk through some of those other tools that you're using, because I think you experiment, which is great. And a lot of people, are nervous to experiment with different tools.
Yeah, I think our approach really is identify the problem and then go find the solution. Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, right? But really one of the challenges, and they can be challenges that seem really small, but one of the challenges we were having on our team is, if we send out a newsletter, we're getting hundreds, if not thousands of auto replies that have gold in them, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, you have to sift through all of that to identify those human responses, especially those that are saying they want to unsubscribe. There's legal obligation to sift through those. Mm-hmm. Additionally, in all of that out of office or leaver information that comes back, so, Sam Smith no longer works with this company, there's a lot of data optimization opportunity in there. So one of the tools that we've put in place recently is called SiftRock. It basically sifts those human responses to the top, pushes them over to somebody that you've indicated you want to receive them, so that you don't have to spend hours going through that information. Yeah. And then it takes from all of those auto response emails and updates the data in your system. So for us, it's the improvement on our deliverability rate for our emails, because it's marked people marketing suspended if they've left an organization. That alone has made it worth it. But that human response component is huge from my sanity perspective.
Yeah. Like you say, going through hours of trawling through, trying to figure out who's a human connection and who isn't, is what you used to have to do. You don't have to do that anymore. And it's nice to see, because sometimes I think we criticize technology and think it's adding. We sometimes feel like it's adding to our workload. But this is a nice example where it really is minimizing the workload. So that's great. So that's really one big time saver for you. I love that.
Yeah, another one we're using right now that I'm really excited about is Drift. So it's a web chat functionality, and those aren't new necessarily, but This one's pretty great because it plugs into your marketing automation system. So it'll push the information over from people that are chatting with you, which is one very important component so that you have all of that logged. But on the other end, it can pull information as well. So segmentation opportunities where somebody's coming from the manufacturing industry, for example, you can offer up talking points specific to that industry in your automated initial outreach from the chat. So there's some really cool segmentation and personalization opportunities that are coming in with these new pieces of technology that are all kind of hinging on either your Salesforce instance or your marketing automation instance. They all plug into those tools.
Right, that's great. And it's nice to hear the word personalization in the same sentence as marketing automation platforms, because again, I think there's a lot of apprehension from marketers that you start, adding these kind of marketing automation platforms and where it doesn't feel like it's a human conversation happening. Do you find that? I mean, do you think it's hindered your ability to connect with people, or do you think it's actually helping you?
I think it actually helps quite a bit, right? So our marketing conversations in the past might be, so say you're a printer vendor, for example, for businesses. It's, hi, we sell the best printers in the land, come buy our printers. Now it's, we are a printing company specifically for manufacturers, or we are a printing company specifically for health services. So you're able to offer up content that's way more specific to the recipient, making them feel like you work specifically in my realm, where that just wasn't scalable in the past. That wasn't really doable in the long term.
No, that was hard to do. But then the challenge is making sure that your content is also storytelling content. You've actually got to, it's like, we're no longer selling ourselves. We're trying to kind of solve solutions and so you've got, not only getting the technology stack right, now it's about the sentiment in your content, and it's a constant challenge, isn't it, of making sure that you really can connect and relate to people through the words that you use and the images that you use.
I totally agree. Everybody says content is king, so I don't think we need to reiterate that.
No.
But I think that you have those stages of the funnel, the awareness stage where you just want people to know who you are and what you do, the consideration phase, building trust and engagement, and then that conversion phase. And that conversion phase is going to be a very, very big challenge if you haven't put a lot of investment in that consideration phase. So solving problems for the prospect that aren't necessarily related to your product, but either way, you've created trust with your audience. So here at Charter School Capital, for example, we offer webinars on growth strategies and finding a facility for a charter school and digital marketing for enrollment for charter schools. Those aren't services that we sell necessarily.
Right.
Facilities financing is, we sell financial products. But by being able to solve a charter school's problem, we're showing that we are a trusted resource in this realm, so that whenever you do need funding, you trust us to follow through on that.
Yeah, that's very clever. That's a great strategy. So what content do you find works? Is there any particular types of content which work really well in your process?
That's tough because it depends on the audience, right? So we do recorded webinars, and those are an hour each. And I don't think that those convert very well because our audience is really busy. So right now we're exploring more infographics and ebooks, stuff that's consumable on people's own time or when they can find the time to do that. The strategy we take here, and that we're probably going to continue into the new year, is trying to have a good variety of different options. So you can write one really robust ebook and take that down to an infographic, a 3-minute video, an email, and then a blog post. And so you're offering similar content in a variety of different tactics so that there is a better likelihood that somebody's going to want to and be able to consume it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned video, because video is we're seeing, video is fundamental. And people don't want to read things much anymore, and video video is king. In particular. And what have you had much exposure to other forms of more immersive storytelling platforms? Like, have you thought of, looked at virtual reality and augmented reality and Because that's getting a lot of traction right now. That's a very exciting space.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of potential with
Mm-hmm.
those tools, especially when it comes to B2C marketing. I think B2B, while it's more technologically advanced in the measurement side, it's definitely slower to adapt
Mm-hmm.
in the flashy stuff, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be a while before we leverage anything like that
Mm-hmm.
on the B2B side. But I think there's some really cool things that are being done on the business to consumer end of things.
Yeah, I think it's nice that the B2B world. I think we've realized this for a couple of years now that we need to be learning from the consumer world, because at the end
Yeah.
of the day we are all consumers. But we're starting to see B2B brands though wanting to go to trade shows, and rather than having to kind of haul in all their different things that they would normally kind of have on their stand to kind of show people what they do, they're now doing these kind of virtual reality experiences where you can actually put the headsets on, and see it for yourself there and then. And I just think that technology is causing, you know, um, a bit of a frenzy happening at these trade shows. So there's definitely, I'm starting to see it more in the B2B space. So it's worth, you never know, it could be where we get to pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what do you see are the challenges, do you think, in your role right now with the whole MarTech stack? I mean, what are some things you're still trying to get your heads around, or you found some solutions to recently that you think is worth sharing?
So I mean, my go-to tip for the most part for users is to talk to your sales team. I think that in most organizations that I've worked with in the past, there seems to be a really strong disconnect between marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm.
Tools like Outreach and Drift and SiftRock are helping to bridge that gap, but nothing can really do as much as a simple conversation can. So
Yeah.
having a listening tour with not just the leadership in the sales org, but the sales development reps, the remote sales folks that are out on the field, and asking them, what marketing tactics do we have that they're aware of, first of all, because oftentimes they won't know of a lot of the stuff that's already created for them.
That's true.
What's working really well for them, and what do they wish that they had?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's such an opportunity to identify a few quick wins and just do it, right? Our sales org here has asked for what we're calling door openers. It's just a one pager with
Mm-hmm.
a photo of them, some case studies from their region, and things like that, just as a means to start the conversation. That's so easy for us to complete
Yeah.
and to have a win so that there's, conversation happening there. So
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest tip that I try to give companies that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
As far as challenges go, you just have to be careful of strategy tourism. With
Strategy
so
tourism. I have not heard that. What does that mean?
So basically, there's so many options for segmentations and personalizations and
Yeah.
tools you can use that you could be stuck in the
Oh,
planning phase for
yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
It's really important to just, and if you're going to fail, fail fast
Yeah.
and move on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right. There, you could spend forever. I mean, I can't remember what the number is, but I did hear that every day there's a new MarTech platform of some, tool
sure.
being developed, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't, it's marketing is not what it used to be, and it's you've got to be extremely smart to be able to manage all the different moving parts and to be a real strategic piece of the business growth model. So
Or you
there's
just don't sleep.
yeah, well, or you just, or you just don't sleep. But I would hate for that to happen to you. But so yeah, I mean, you're in a very, it's an interesting world, but it's a difficult world to live in. But it makes it really fun. What do you think some of the big successes that you've had in 2017 with some of your marketing programs? Have there been some things which really stand out as some successes that are worth sharing?
Yeah, honestly, I am not a salesperson for Outreach, but we implemented that sales enablement platform this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this organization has ever had such a cooperative relationship between sales and
Yeah.
marketing. We talk to each other every day. There have already been some closed won opportunities that have come out of it. We're learning so much more about how the
Right.
sales team speaks to prospects
Mm-hmm.
and how. What are the challenges that they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to help solve for those prospects? And on the flip side, they're learning so much more about the resources
Yeah.
and the marketing materials that we have to offer. So
Mm-hmm.
it's this magic bridge
Yeah,
that's happening.
that's amazing. That's definitely worth sharing. So that's something people should definitely check out. That sounds like a great tool, and many companies are struggling, always struggle with that alignment. So that's fabulous. Well, it sounds like you are doing a really good job at the Charter House, um, and putting some pretty progressive campaigns together and initiatives together to help to drive those new engagements. So I've enjoyed speaking with you. So anything else you would love to share as a last minute tip? You've given us some great tips already, but anything else?
No, I would just say if there are any questions, if anybody wants to reach
Mm-hmm.
me, it's just sristow at charterschoolcapital.org. That's SRISTOW at charterschoolcapital.org.
That's fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.